Welcome back, everyone. Psalm 137, 8 through 9 is low-hanging fruit for Muslim polemicists, and it's easy to see why. These verses read, "O daughter of Babylon, doomed to be destroyed, blessed shall he be who repays you with what you have done to us. Blessed shall he be who takes your little ones and dashes them against the rock." Let's look at what this passage does and doesn't say. This psalm is situated within the context of the Babylonian exile. Ancient Near Eastern warfare was extremely brutal, as this psalm reflects. The psalmist clearly wants revenge, and that revenge is expressed, not surprisingly, in typical ancient Near Eastern terms, lex talionis, an eye for an eye, or in this case, life for life. Babylon is expected to be conquered in the same way it had conquered. If we go back and add in verse 7, we see that this outburst occurs when God is being addressed. Remember, O Lord. This is critical since it communicates an exceedingly important point about this psalm, which is often known as one of the imprecatory psalms. It has been rightly said that the psalms often give pride of place to human emotion. Anyone reading the psalms can easily see this. The authors frequently describe their emotional states, good and bad, and they bring these emotions, very importantly, to God. Tremper Longman comments, "As we have just discussed, the Psalms mirror every human emotion and help us articulate them in prayer to God. God invites our honest prayers. When we are deeply harmed and our anger boils, it would be both fruitless, God reads our hearts, and dangerous to suppress those emotions, rather than turning them over to God. And that is the important point. The imprecations are not just expressions of anger. They allow us to turn our anger over to God. These prayers do not ask God for the resources and opportunity to take vengeance on our enemies. They ask God to do so and acknowledge his freedom to act or not act as he sees fit. This is worth reflecting on. Many of us who have studied the evils at work in the past and the present have likely prayed, thought, or wished harm on people who have committed the evils that we see. But of course, our thoughts would not be expressed in ancient Near Eastern warfare language like we see in the Old Testament. However, we do, like the psalmist, experience very strong emotions, including extreme anger. And the Psalms encourage us to respond to those emotions, just as we see in Psalm 137. We take our emotions, good and bad, to God in prayer. We turn these things over to God and let him act on them out of his sovereignty. And in this act of prayerful exchange, God will calm our hearts, soothe our anger, and bring us into his rest. Now let's turn to the Quran, which also addresses the issue of extreme anger. Surah 3, 119 and 67, 6 through 8 describe biting fingers out of rage and the punishment of Gehenna as nearly bursting apart from rage. The anger that is being described here is intense, as these verses indicate. Using the same word, Surah 9 describes how to deal with this rage in the hearts of the believers. Fight them. God will punish them by your hands and disgrace them and help you against them and heal the hearts of a people who believe and take away all rage from their hearts. Indeed, Surah 9 is so intent on fighting that it makes one of the most ignorant statements about the Torah and Gospel in Muslim history. And believe me, there is lots of competition. Surah 9, 111 states that in the Torah and Gospel, gardens of paradise are promised for those who die fighting. And what could be better than a promise of paradise from Allah? Unlike the Psalm, the cure for rage in Surah 9 is to fight. And with every stroke of the sword, the anger in the hearts of the Quran's believers will cool. One can only guess what a subsequent solution would be when that same anger swells up in the same people all over again. Though we don't have to wonder. We can just look at the violence carried out all over the world throughout history in the name of Islam. So to Muslims who love to quote Psalm 137, I end this video with a question. Suppose you have the option to move to one of two cities. The first city is called Bible City. The people there take their anger to the God of the Bible in prayer, rather than acting on it. The second city is called Quran City. The people there have their rage soothed when they fight, and they're motivated by the promise of the best thing ever, paradise. Which city would you like to move to? Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.